Welcome to Versus. It's Monday. I'm Chris Gore from Film Thread. We have an all-star lineup here today for the show, and we have a big giveaway that you can participate in. Everyone can win. Lots of news. David Lynch news. Grace Randolph somehow is in our news. Deadpool and Wolverine continues to kill it at the box office. We'll talk about it all. So let's get things started. Let's see if we can get things going here. Here we go. All right, let's go. Hey everybody, wait. Did the music play at the top?
Why did you turn it up?
I couldn't hear it. All right. So it was working. All right.
It was working. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, let's everybody introduce themselves. You know how this works. Here we go. We'll go around the horn here.
Alan Ng, editor-in-chief of Film Threat, and D23 is coming up this weekend, and who cares?
Hey, it's the script doctor here to diagnose all things wrong with Hollywood and provide you the best treatment to get back on the mend.
Angry Badger. I read super chats. So make sure to get those in early and often.
Hi, I'm Elaine at Nerd Cookies. You can find me here on YouTube where I cover sci-fi and fantasy news and lore, and I'm excited to be here as always.
I'm Robert Meyer Burnett. From the Burnettwork on loan. I do lots of different things, but they're all entertainment industry related. An aging nerd.
What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA, here to chop it up with this wonderful panel of guests and hanging out with you guys in the chat. Let's go.
How's it going, guys? Dante from Verbal Riot Show, and I'm ready to talk about some gender-swapping Batman characters.
Wait, so you watched it, right? Hey, everybody! Yeah.
I absolutely did not.
I am nearly finished.
I'm 5 in.
We're going to talk about Batman: The Caped Crusader on Wednesday, Alan and I. If you want to talk about it, but
now I have to watch it. Great.
Yes, yeah, you do. I messaged you about it. Let's
People have to know how bad it is.
No comments are.
No, I am going to watch it because I am going to talk about it on my show as well. But I'm begrudgingly bringing myself to watch it. So
verisimilitude. Robert is. I think of him so much watching this goddamn show. It breaks all of it. Keep trying to wake up from the Matrix while watching it. Just doesn't. It changed too much.
A little housekeeping. Go to shop.filmthread.com for all your t-shirt needs. By the way, all of our t-shirts are custom made. So you pick a size, you pick a color, a style, boom, custom made. So unfortunately, they are not returnable if you choose the wrong size, but they are that's why they're so cool. So check it out. Go to shop.filmthread.com. Our shirts cure nudity on contact. That's what Alan likes to say. Also, today, a quick thing, a giveaway. We are doing a giveaway. Our friend, Russell Beatty, who's been on the show, has a show called Batette, Follies. It is a Gotham-themed, really well-timed, a Gotham-themed burlesque show with singers and dancers. The last weekend is this weekend. Tickets are $50. It's in Los Angeles and Hollywood at the Montalban Theater. However, I posted yesterday for our members only. There is a code to get free tickets. That's right. Save yourself $50 now. The link is in the description for this episode. Free tickets if you use the offer code BAT100. There it is. It's a Catwoman is in it. It's Poison Ivy, Stingers, Two-Face. It's better than that Caped Crusader show. I can tell you that right now. But because you watched this show, I posted for members yesterday. It will sell out. Final shows are this weekend. And you guys, hey, DA, you're in LA. Rob.
Yeah.
I mean, Dante.
When you say final shows, this show will never happen again.
Yeah, because Warner Brothers is shutting it down. So Final
Wow.
weekend, BAT100 is the code. Save yourself $50 on tickets. Go there. Link in the description. I like to give things away. I'll give you another reminder before the end of the show. All right. Our first topic. Deadpool and Wolverine is this the right headline, Alan?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Wow.
Is killing at the box office. And Elaine, you haven't been here the last couple of weeks. You want to weigh in on your thoughts on this film?
Before, let's explain the headline for a second. Let's see. As it says that it's the highest-grossing R-rated domestic release in box office history, passing a 20-year record held by Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ at $370 million.
Well, there you go. But any thoughts before we launch in? This is going to be, put the story back up if you would, Ellen. It's
sure.
This is historic. A couple things. One, it basically signifies a pivot for Marvel. You saw the clip about me that went viral. It's been in many stories. Drinker did something on it. I mean, whatever. I said this a month ago. Nobody cared. Then I said it on Drinker's show, and suddenly it's news. I'm going to share it. Actually, I'm going to share Drinker's video. Don't mind. It's really short. It's only like a minute. That will kick off our conversation.
It really.
All right. There we go. It's just like about a minute at the top. So here we are, right here.
It really is funny, the things you learn when you're on open bar. There we were on Thursday night chatting away about the box office success of Deadpool and Wolverine and whether it might inspire a change of creative direction at Marvel when Chris Gore just casually dropped in this little bombshell.
I do know people who work at Marvel. They have cleaned house. They quietly, months ago, fired all the producers that could be labeled activist.
Really?
Yes. Unlike Lucasfilm is lost. They're lost.
Okay.
That's it.
what I like
They
to
are
hear.
doubling down on all the nonsense, right? You will never get anything good out of Lucasfilm and Star Wars. That's it. Kevin Feige recognizes he even I'm not going to say exactly. Basically, he said that we tried it. It didn't work. He's talking about phase 4.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. We tried it. Didn't work. No Kang. None of these side characters that don't have the legacy of classic characters. And if Deadpool and Wolverine proves anything, you've heard that phrase, male and pale is stale. That was spoken aloud across studios. But if you look at box office this year, I would say male and pale is money. I would also say at this point, male and pale can't fail.
Make the t-shirt. Make the t-shirt.
I want to hear your
It
comment.
has. But,
What's weird is that's not a new comment. I just said it on a show that more people watch than here. I happen to know that the people, it was not very many people. It was about 15, 16 people, producers. And some of them were just fired because they don't know the comics.
What
So-
about Victoria Alonso?
Yeah.
Wasn't she maybe the start of some of this?
Maybe, but it was so few people that it went unnoticed. It wasn't like Marvel lays off. No, it was a small group. They, and I know this from someone I know that is there, and just there's a change of attitude. Problem is the righting of the ship is going to take. You probably won't notice for a year. We're going to
At
get
least, yeah.
Or longer, I think.
yeah.
I was
Couple bad
expecting
movies.
it's
longer.
Fantastic Four. The
Bad
Fantastic
TV
Four
shows
was
are going to drop. Agatha, we've got Ironheart, but I want your comments on all this. Please jump in, weigh in.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before, actually. And I think it's maybe because seeing Deadpool and Wolverine and the success of that, but also Robert Downey Jr.'s casting, maybe just we can see the signs of it. So maybe that's why it's like starting to pick up traction. But it's a great video. I liked your I like Drinker's video.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I wish more people watch this show. They could just.
I know.
But anyway,
having seen every episode of the Film Threat live stream, you've been saying this for a very long time.
Well, it happened early in the year. It was around February that I heard this. It just was change the attitude. Let's do this, and then I hear from my source, and then I share it with you guys. But
Chris, you and I are old school.
Yes,
we go back, and if you look at the demographics, let's just take the demographics in America. And if you want to break down racial, sexual, religious, look at the demographics of the country. And as fans, we've watched fandom change from the late 80s to now. I mean, it used to be a bunch of old sweaty dudes rifling through long boxes. And then as games became more popular, as anime started to come over from Japan and other science fiction from Asia, more women started to find their way into fandom. And if you look at the racial demographics, like let's say Black America is 13 to 14% of the United States. Well, how many Black fans are there based on the demographics? I mean, all of us geeks are a subset of whatever demographics we belong to. And that subset of geek probably breaks down along demographic lines for the whole population.
Right.
So this idea that suddenly they wanted to target minority groups as the forefront of their programming, I think is an honorable goal. Look, on my channel, I talk about how every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. I want to hear new stories. I use this example all the time, but the first time I saw She's Gotta Have It, about a black and white movie about a Black woman in Brooklyn with multiple boyfriends. I was living in Seattle. I had no experience at all of what it was like to be this person. Love the movie. Who was this Spike Lee guy? 2 movies later, he did School Days, and then he made Do the Right Thing, which is one of the most incredible films of the latter half of the 20th century. Still resonates today. This idea that suddenly we're chasing, giving marginalized groups a voice, that's a great thing to do. We need more stories. We need more diversity of the tales that are being told. Nobody wants to hear the same stories over and over again. But to suddenly elevate those stories above from a monetary perspective, I mean, superheroes have existed for the better part of a century. And we go back, the Greek gods, Gilgamesh, Beowulf, whatever. The people that are attracted to stories, Paul Bunyan, are a certain subset of people. And to then go after all of these make marginalized groups suddenly the focus of characters that have traditionally represented, of course it's not going to work, because the audiences aren't there if you break them down. Because how many geeks are there? We're a subset. We're a subset of the majority. We always have been. And that subset probably breaks down across demographic lines. There's probably just as many geeks of color based on the percentage of the population as any other group.
Absolutely.
But it's still smaller.
I put us front and center just to prove we're not the same person. We did switch. I got your beard though.
You look good.
I'll high five you right now.
I just was looking so goddamn old. I look in the mirror, I didn't even recognize myself, so I shaved.
Well, I'm older than you, so but no, I remember I saw She's Gotta Have It at the DIA, Detroit Institute of Arts. Was blown away. I saw a lot of indie films there, and it was authentic and authentic. That's what I've always admired about Spike Lee. He's very authentic.
That movie, it told a great authentic story that nobody had heard before. And you had a new voice, a new filmmaker that was incredibly talented, and no one gave Spike Lee keys to the kingdom. I'd read that he was selling sneakers, kicks, whatever, to make money to make this movie. And his story, to me, he's still one of the greatest filmmakers. I mean, the diversity. The guy made Inside Man. How great is that movie?
Yeah.
He made the 25th Hour. I mean, Spike Lee can do no wrong. And he's a self-made guy.
You hit on it, Rob. You hit on it when you say the word authenticity is the reason why you just can't kind of microwave and push, characters of color, you know, heroes, and because it doesn't feel organic. Like everything they have done does not feel organic. It feels forced. We want to get this. We have a message. We have an ideology. We have an agenda. We want to get this stuff elevated to the top. And like you said, it may be a noble goal, but at the same time, it's not going to fit with most comic fans because it doesn't feel organic to what we've, you know, gone through as fans. We have rejected so many types of characters over the years when we've come up watching or reading comics or watching television or things. We have rejected a lot of things because it's just like, okay, this didn't really work within the, you know, the geek culture lexicon, whatever you will. And so you have to do it organically. If you're going to do it, it has to be a character like a Black Panther that has come along and has worked for decades. And it's like, okay, now let's bring this character to the forefront.
And everyone loved that character.
Problem. Right.
When you met him in Civil War, Chad Boseman playing T'Challa in Civil War was great. Nobody didn't immediately love that character. That character was a badass from the get.
He was also given a very empathetic story. He lost his father in a political target. But the other part too, and this goes back to something you and I had as a conversation like over a year ago, we talked about the fraudulent creator, and then you added a qualifier of the insincere creator. And the fact of the matter is that there's a huge sect of Hollywood, and it's also in corporate America and whatnot, that basically looks at the idea of like, hey, this demographic that's only maybe under 20%, this is potential money. And if we give them what that 80% or 90% wants, they will give us that, you know, a relative return of that money as well. But they're only looking at it as an end result. They're not looking at it as like, what can I do with these types of characters that actually make it resonate? What can I do with them to make them elevated? How do I turn Guardians of the Galaxy's a D-list team into an A-list at home named brand? How do you do that? Well, you do it by being authentic. You do it by coming at it for what the characters are, and you just pitch an idea that you hope resonates with people because you're trying to connect with them. You're not just putting up there like they're circus clowns saying, oh, look at that. We got the first this, we got the first that. That is low-hanging fruit, lazy marketing strategy, and it has dominated the industry for 20 years, where it's not about, oh, these are the inventive things that they're doing. This is the team we brought together. It's more about, this is the first we've done of this. And it's like, now you have to micromanage to the point where it's everything can be the first of something because you've delved down so deep on the layers of and tiers of things that you're saying, yes, it's the first 5'4", 300-pound female superhero to ever exist in the MCU during the time of 2015 to 2035. Like, that's how micromanaged they're going to get at some point when it comes to this, because they're not actually doing the thing that's needed. You need to do stunts for advertising. You need to put effort into the stories. Like, look what Alien Romulus is doing in New York. They got people with face huggers just sitting on the street there. Like, that gets people talking. That gets people interested. Awesome. Even if it might be a bad movie, it's at least an effort to try and get people talking that is not saying, well, we got the youngest female lead in an Alien movie franchise ever. Like, no, they're going for something that's actually predicated on the story and what they're trying to tell, as opposed to the people behind it, the demographics is trying to appeal to, and basically the desperation of just trying to get people into the seats because they know they don't have anything else to say about this product that couldn't be uttered by 100 other movies at the same time.
Yeah, I bring this up with Asian cinema, especially Asian American cinema, because for the longest time, Asian cinema was basically imported from Japan and from Hong Kong. But as Asian Americans in Hollywood, we were not getting work. We were not getting our stories told. And it really wasn't until Joy Luck Club came out, because it was based on a popular book that had broad appeal. It wasn't until Crazy Rich Asians, which is also based on a popular book that had broad appeal. And I felt like, you know, I understand the fact that as an Asian and as a minority in this country, you know, you can tell your stories, but they will always have an indie feel to it. And it's not until you find a story that can resonate and expand beyond, you know, resonate with the population as a whole, such as Crazy Rich Asians, such as Everything Everywhere All at Once, will you find success. And unfortunately, took us a long time, but we're finally there.
But, you know, like Justin Lin, when he made, was it Better Luck Tomorrow, his breakthrough indie film, and then he made Shopping for Fangs. I think it really depends on what story you want to tell.
Yeah.
Like, if you were going to make a breakthrough horror film that had an all-Asian cast, I don't think that people would necessarily notice the fact that it was an all-Asian cast if the horror movie was good.
Right. It's stories that resonate with the broad audience.
Yeah.
That's where the success comes in. It's not it's not the fact that it was Asian or made by Asians or comes from an Asian perspective. If you can relate to that movie, people are gonna go and see that movie.
Well, because I think there's a difference between a movie that resonates with human beings and a movie that resonates with culture, right? Culture movies are always going to be small tier, right? Because and not saying that the general populace won't like a movie that's cultural, but the target isn't everybody. It's a particular group of people, right? Take a movie like the original Star Wars, right? That relates to everybody. Everybody can see themselves in Luke Skywalker, in Obi-Wan, in Han Solo. We could see ourselves, no matter what race we are, no matter what gender we are, we could see ourselves in these characters. When something is too cultural, don't get me wrong, I think people would like to observe it, but they can't relate to it because they're not that culture. So those movies are always going to be smaller, just on scale.
Dante,
if they can make $50 million, that's considered a success. And that's kind of how you have to budget these movies. You know, you can't give them $100 million thinking it's going to make 250. Give them 12 million, and if it makes 50, you're golden.
Dante, on your point, really quick, I had a friend in college, way long time ago, who was a black filmmaker, who did not want to cast black people in his films. He cast white people because he felt whenever he had black actors in his stories, it was presupposed that he had to address issues that he would be unburdened by.
Yes.
To quote Kamala's favorite word, that he just wanted to tell a story. And so he even said this to me. I never forgot it. He likes to cast white people because he considers them generic people. They're like generic. So he can just tell a story, but not be, like, you're supposed to do this. They're supposed to act like this. It's like, no,
right.
They're generic. So he,
and that was honestly, that was the problem with, the films in the 80s, the films in the 90s. Is like, once you made a movie, if you were a black filmmaker and you made a movie with nothing but black people in it, you were a black filmmaker, a black director, right? Mm-hmm. You can only make black movies. You couldn't make any other kind of movies. You had to make a movie about being raised in the hood. You had to make a movie about, being raised by a single mom. You got stuck in that, or you had to tell a story about a black woman being mistreated by all the black men in her life, right? It's like those were the movies that you were basically stuck with if you were a filmmaker back in those days.
But at least those
John M. Chu talked about.
Wait, Alan. At least those filmmakers had black jobs. That's all I want to say about that. What a weird.
Like John M. Chu, he started off. He made Step It Up. He did Jen and the Holograms. He did one of the G.I. Joe movies. And when he built his success, when he built his CV, finally someone said, "Well, what Asian film do you want to make?" And it was Crazy Rich Asians at that point. And then he went back to do In the Heights and now Wicked. So it shouldn't be about race. It should be about the individual focusing on their art and wanting to succeed at that art.
Well, also,
and those are the best stories, honestly, that we get, is the ones that come from people that have a passion deep down of a story they've been trying to get out there. They've been trying to tell this story for the last 10, 20 years, and they've been working their way through Hollywood, trying to get the credits and the cachet to be able to go out and make that story. And those always end up being the best films, in my opinion. And that's what we need more of in Hollywood now. We need people that have a passion, even in the comic book side, which is why I'm glad that they kind of got rid of people that aren't comic book fans, and they were just there because Marvel was a big thing and it's a hit and everybody's watching Marvel movies, so let's go ahead and make a Marvel movie, and I'll be the producer of this Marvel movie. I don't like that, because these guys really didn't come from a place of passion. They didn't have a passion for comic books, and I think that's what you needed, and that's what we hopefully will be getting from Marvel now. Like you said, Chris, they've gotten rid of the activists, they've gotten rid of all these other cats, and they are going to bring in people that actually care, because that's where good filmmaking comes from. It comes from the heart. It doesn't come from the IP necessarily. These IPs didn't get big because of all the money that was poured into it. There was a single creative at the beginning of it that actually had a passion for what it was, the story that he wanted to tell, or she wanted to tell, and that's where you get great stories from, great filmmaking from. And so hopefully that's what we're getting back to with Marvel.
You know what, too? I mean, when I was a kid, I remember, I saw it on TV, Richard Roundtree's Shaft. But I loved Shaft because it was set in that it had that 70s grunge, the film stock, like that Fuji film stock it was shot with.
Yeah.
It was so out of the realm of my experience living in Seattle. And I also loved Shaft. I love that guy. And what Shaft represented to me was the world of New York that I had never been to. And Shaft could only be in New York. He couldn't be in Seattle because there's no reason for him to be in Seattle. And I didn't see him as a black dude. I saw him as a New York guy. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be that guy because I wanted to. New York might as well have been Mars for me as a little kid in Seattle. And what I loved was being immersed in a world. Maybe that's why I love Star Trek so much. You go to these alien worlds that are way beyond what you know. And yet there's all these things like I want to be John Shaft's friend. I want to go live in that world. And I never thought of it as, and the same was true of Asian sci-fi. I loved Japanese science fiction as much about, like, I remember Godzilla's Revenge is a terrible movie, but seeing that little kid, like, dealing with walking around his world, like what was a street in Japan like? I mean, I'm like, that's what I wanted to see. And I'm like, this is the world. I want to go to this place because it's different than what I know. And I never thought to myself, well, those are just Japanese people. They were people in other parts of the world that I hadn't been to.
Oh, Rob, I had the same experience with Godzilla's Revenge. It's not a great movie, but seeing the cultural differences, the way they cook their food, they were sitting at the table like lower. They had toys, I was like fascinated. And then I just grew up watching foreign films.
I mean, I didn't want to see Chinese triad movies with white people in them.
Yes, I want it to be authentic to that country. So whatever. But my experience,
that's how I felt about watching white movies too. I'm so fascinated by your culture and the things.
Right, Alan. But I mean, I've grown. My experience growing up with like nerd stuff, because I went to the Detroit Auto Show, had a room where they were showing like 16 prints of Star Trek and old shows, and then they'd have comic books. But nerd culture was always diverse. My memory of it was always diverse, because if you knew anyone who was into nerd stuff, it was like, oh, you're into nerd stuff too, because it was a small segment.
Women were unicorns and treasured, not kicked out or gate kept against. It's the biggest lie they try to say, that we were the most welcoming. That's the problem. We were too welcoming. We let everyone in.
It was very much a collection of misfits. That's my recollection. Be like, all my friends we were all like weirdos, but I didn't care because that's how we talked about,
we were seekers, Chris. We were
still weirdos. We are all still weirdos.
Now, look, and I understand, like, look, especially when it comes to comic books and fantasy and sci-fi, I understand that as a studio, you cannot just cater to hardcore fans. You can't. That can't just be your thing. I get that. The problem is nowadays, when it comes to these studios, is not only do they not know how to make a film, they don't know how to sell a film. They don't it blows my mind, right? Look, say what you want to about the old studios back in the day, back in the 80s, back in the 70s, right? These guys might have been scumbags, sure. Casting couch, sure. All the bad things, yes. But these guys knew how to make and sell a movie, right? These people who come out of college now that they're drafting into these studios, they're just activists. They have no idea how to sell.
No, they don't, because I was actually talking to a marketing exec just last month, and I asked them, okay, and she was maybe like 25 or so, and I asked her, what's the most impressive marketing event that you ever heard of that you would like to repeat one day? And the only thing that she could draw from was how NSYNC got their start at a mall. Like, that is the level of history and understanding of marketing that these people have. I've been dealing with them for 15 years. I've never been into a company where I go, hey, this is the product I have. A marketing company, they say, well, we don't know how to sell that. Marketing is all about selling. If you're saying you don't know how to sell something, why are you here? Why do you have a business? Why are people hiring you? Nobody ever says, I'm a mechanic and I don't know how to fix a car. So why the hell do we have marketing people that don't know how to sell in Hollywood? Why?
Yeah. We used to go to college for that stuff. I mean, that was my degree in marketing. We would study, how do you market things? Product, place, all that stuff. And I wonder what they teach in colleges today.
Yeah, because all of these people are out of college, right? They're drafting them out of college. So what are they learning now?
Yeah, it's not about profit. It's about the message. It's about,
Well, and the thing is, the message doesn't lead anywhere. This idea that you think 30 or 40 or 50 years ago people weren't fighting for equality, that this is something new. I mean,
they act like this is new.
Our culture was evolving, and it's been evolving because it sure, it didn't happen tomorrow, but our culture has been completely derailed with if you look back at what Jonathan Haidt is talking about, it really was in 2012 when kids started to get smartphones, when they filtered down.
It was when iPhones became affordable.
Yeah.
Remember, they were doing get a second phone for a penny. That's when the rates of depression and
all of that natural evolution was completely derailed. And now we're in a position here where things aren't. Look at what Ryan Reynolds has done with Deadpool. I mean, it's a movie that Disney shouldn't have made. It didn't start at Disney, and the fact that it's this successful, and it's tolerantly politically incorrect. It's not transcendently politically incorrect,
right.
But it's amazing that it's been made. But what Scripty and I was talking about, the Script Doctor and I have talked about the fact that the stories themselves have been undermined, and they are insincere, they are fraudulent, because storytelling is, by definition, it really is about trying to convey human truths that the rest of us recognize through the medium of storytelling. And if you're not trying to convey real human truth and you're trying to push something else, it immediately renders that story fraudulent or insincere. And we all see it, no matter who we are, because we know it's not true. And that's what's frustrating.
And what's funny about that for me is, they again, like you said, they think that all this is new, right? Literally last night, I watched an episode of The Jeffersons. I have some of these old channels that show these old sitcoms.
And that show's great.
Yeah.
And I saw an episode of The Jeffersons last night where George met up with an old friend of his he hasn't seen in 20 years, and his friend turned out to be trans. And that was in the 70s.
Oh, I remember that episode.
Yeah, none of these topics are new.
Yeah.
Remember with the world?
I remember that episode.
The world according to
Garp. Oh my God. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. John Lithgow.
Yeah. I've been watching the old episodes of The Paper Chase, which is based on the movie. And I watched an episode, it was on YouTube, that dealt with affirmative action and quotas.
Yeah.
And John Houseman and what he had to say about it.
But they haven't watched any of this. That's the point. They literally act like they're the first. Jennifer Lawrence was the first female action star.
Yes, of course.
Everything is new to them. Their fight is the most important fight. That's why Cape Crusader is such a grotesque thing, because their 1940s is like none of that struggle ever took place, and it's more progressive than now. They completely ignore all the actual progress we've made. It's a weird revisionist history.
Yeah,
well, I mean, Batman's not trying to be our history. There's that argument you can say.
Nerd Cookies, you actually started to say something.
Not authentic. That's the problem. It just wasn't
Script.
authentic.
Give me a second. Let Nerd Cookies talk, please, my dog. Please. What'd you say?
Oh, now you grow back on. Okay, let's go heel, man. Let's do it. Let's have some fun.
Well, now I lost my thought.
About Cape Crusader and the breaking of verisimilitude.
I was just going to say that just because you have a big IP, it doesn't mean that you can't put in the work to develop themes and ideas that everyone can, relate to or enjoy. And I think that's what is just a major problem still today. And hopefully they'll course correct. Like even in this story in Deadpool and Wolverine, it's superficial, shallow. It's not very deep. It's mostly about the characters. But see, and they've already done the work to develop these characters, and it's mostly just about their relationships and their whole journey. So I think that's why people liked it. So even if you have kind of a shallow story, if your characters are interesting, if you get the audience to care about them, like that's like most of the work right there. And Twisters is another example. It's very thin kind of premise, but it's very entertaining. And at the end of the day, we just want fun, escapist entertainment. And we want, if you're dealing with an IP, we want the stories and characters that we love treated respectfully, and combine that together with something that appeals to general audiences and fans. You have a recipe for success, which clearly is the case.
Because at the end of the day, we just want to be entertained. right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think they forgot that's what filmmaking, that's what it's about.
And I don't want to be
Entertainment.
attacked.
Yeah.
I feel like they
Yes.
don't hate me. That was very nice change of pace from a Marvel movie.
Well,
Now,
think
by
about
the
this. How many people who saw Deadpool and Wolverine actually read a Deadpool comic book? I would submit it's very small. It's
Yeah.
I know you
Yeah.
guys did, but we're talking about,
It's because they
almost
watched
$1 billion
$1 billion
for it.
Fox movie.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
bought
yeah.
But
that
I
New
would tell you
Mutants
a
issue
very
when he
small
was presented.
percentage of the audience had ever read a Deadpool comic book, let alone an X-Men comic book.
But
Because
that's true of the
because it's
majority
about
of
the
people that
characters.
watch the MCU, though.
Yeah,
You
these
know.
guys aren't comic fans. I don't think
Guilty.
these guys are hardcore.
I'm a DC
comic book
guy.
fans.
I only liked Marvel because of the X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was the Wolverine and Spider-Man and and then the movies. I watched all the Fox movies and that got me into it. But
Real quick, a shout out to Anna, that Star Wars girl. I feel like I'm the only person that didn't like this movie. Well,
Yeah,
you also did not like RRR.
Or The
So,
Godfather.
at
Anna,
least she watched it.
we will
Jesus, at least she
debate.
watched it.
But Lord Thaw says, love having nerd cookies here. Hey, Anna,
Aw,
good to see you.
thank you.
You're welcome here, Anna. You are welcome, even though you have those opinions. That's perfectly fine. We like diversity of opinions. So, I do want to sort of pivot a little bit to some other topics. One that is, well, a quick funny thing. I may have made a terrible decision. I'm gonna out myself now.
Oh my gosh. You didn't buy
These
it.
Godzilla shoes on the Godzilla website are $750.
Oh no.
Are they made out of Godzilla skin?
No,
Because
$725. I may have pre-ordered them.
oh my god.
It was the same shoes that the director was wearing, and they look really cool.
Oh yeah, those are
Zippers,
sick.
huh?
I'm not gonna lie.
Come
I
on,
wear
dude.
those.
Those are awesome.
Well,
Did you go for the heel version?
They have one for women as well.
Oh, you gotta do the hills, man. You gotta do the hills.
To each their own.
I didn't buy much at San Diego Comic-Con. I bought some books, a couple T-shirts, but I really did not buy many things. So
But what suit are you gonna wear those with?
maybe a tuxedo. Anyways, am I an idiot? Am I, Rob? You buy a lot of things you don't need. Am I an idiot? Let's do a
no.
poll.
I mean, I bought these Akira high tops.
Yeah.
I don't know why I bought them. You know,
Uh-huh.
I've never worn them. Maybe I think I'm going to give them to Annika. You know, but when you see stuff like this, the real question is, if you didn't, would you regret it? And the answer is yes. You would have.
Yeah.
The answer is always buy what you. If you think it's cool, buy it.
Well, I
because
always walk
You
away.
can always sell it
and-
later, but you have it.
I think I could sell them for twice as much. That's why I actually pulled the trigger, because if I don't like them, I will sell them and at least get my.
You autograph them, probably make more money. Oh, he took himself out.
Yeah, I know. Chris
Well,
is so upset.
It's all right, I
and,
do that too.
and also Chris would be as tall as me wearing those shirts.
Yeah,
now.
he could
But-
autograph them, and you guys could auction them off for charity or film threat or for all that. Yeah.
Hey.
Oh yeah,
there you
they'd be like Gorzilla boots or
Yeah.
go.
See, there you go, Badger. Marketing. Marketing.
Yeah.
Sell.
They could do an NSYNC concert at a mall where dancing, wearing the shoes. I don't know.
You know, that's where marketing began.
The mall.
in malls.
At
Yep.
that NSYNC concert.
Oh, at the NSYNC concert. Yeah.
That was my. Sorry, guys.
You felt
Sorry.
strongly about it, huh?
No, I pushed the wrong button. I'm an idiot. So it's okay. All right. We do have other topics. This one here, something you may or may not know about, and I am very sad to hear this news about David Lynch.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he has emphysema diagnosis, can't leave the house or direct in person.
Wow.
I would do it remotely if it comes to it. So he didn't really officially announce retirement, but this is sad. One of my all-time favorite directors, Blue Velvet, Elephant Man, Eraserhead, created Midnight Movies, Dune, the 84 Dune, Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
I've been to David Lynch's house, and he owns two houses. One where he does his art, it's like his office. The other one where he lives. They're just right next to each other.
Jesus.
And there is a David Lynch interview on the Film Threat website from the late 90s when I went to his house. thoughts on this, guys? It's kind of sad, and maybe anything about David Lynch you'd like to share.
I mean, he's an inspirational independent filmmaker. I mean, the stuff that he's brought to the fold, not just artistically, but also intellectually, this stuff to be revered. I mean, everybody loves Twin Peaks. That was huge.
Yeah,
Right.
that was
And
big.
he's and him messing with audiences not at their expense, but for their entertainment is what really made Lynch kind of stand out among all of his contemporaries.
Right.
You know what? It's strange is that part of me thinks that if he were to direct remotely, he would make it the most interesting experience possible.
Yeah.
John Carpenter directed that TV series remotely in a different country.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
But you know what I liked about him? I like that he said that, look, smoking is obviously bad for you, but he didn't sit there and go, "Oh, woe is me." He's like, I enjoyed smoking. He extolled the virtues of how happy smoking made him, and he's bummed out about what had happened to him. But it's like, look, smoking killed Leonard Nimoy. It killed so many of us, but you're gonna die anyway. I'm not saying you should go out and smoke, but I liked his attitude. Like he's enjoyed his life. He's enjoyed his work. He didn't seem bitter. He owned it. And I like that. I admired that about him. I've admired him. Look, when I saw Elephant Man, I was like, the guy who made Eraserhead made Elephant Man. Elephant Man's one of the great movies of the early 80s. It's incredible.
Yeah, I interviewed his producing partner on Elephant Man on the Film Thread interview channel. And I asked him basically what was the big success. And he credits Mel Brooks for his success, especially with Elephant Man.
Yeah, Brooks was a producer on that, and Cronenberg's The Fly.
Yep. And but Mel Brooks basically, he said, "This is your movie. This is your vision. I'll give you notes, and you can take them or leave them." But Mel Brooks gave a lot of artistic freedom to to David Lynch, and he will always credit him for that.
Yeah. I remember when Wild at Heart came out, and I think that's my first, because I saw Elephant Man, but I was way too young. I didn't really fully get it. But I remember Wild at Heart was the one I kind of, that was my first, I won't say introduction, but my first acknowledgement of what he does. And I was so young. I just remember thinking, I shouldn't be watching this. I'm like, I shouldn't be watching this movie, man, because it's all sex. It's just Nicolas Cage and what's her name, just having sex the whole time.
Laura Dern.
And what was the name again, just for research?
Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart. Good.
Wild at Heart. But no, look, man, this guy's a legend. He's a legend in the industry. He's what I call, the mainstream auteur, basically, right? And I'm glad he's still alive. I hope he could keep fighting. But yeah, this is sad news, man.
Dune, as a kid, it was one of the first grand movies I saw. I was like, that shit weirded me out. Like, obviously, the Harkonnens and all the just made you feel feelings as a kid. It's like, oh, like uncomfortable type feelings. Just because that's really well done, though. If you can do that and just because now I watch it as an adult and I'm like,
I mean, there's no denying smoking looks cool. It looks cool. I'm sorry. James Dean with a cigarette or other actors who had cigarettes. It looks cool. The smell of cigarette smoke. I never smoked as a kid. No one in my family ever smoked. It's terrible. It's the number one worst thing you can do for your health is smoke. So I never have. No one in my family. But it does look cool.
Yeah.
Well, it looks cool for
cigarettes.
Some people, Chris. It didn't look cool for my grandfather, who would smoke us out in his station wagon every time we had to ride with him.
That was not good. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, we had no rules about that.
Yeah.
Oh, my grandfather was a savage, man. He would roll the windows up, and we'd be in that station wagon just dying, man, grasping for air.
Strychnine and nicotine. Yeah.
Let's switch to another topic here, something more fun. Should Wesley Snipes return as Blade?
No.
He was he was the standout, the standout of all the cameos. The biggest cheer in the whole movie is Wesley Snipes. There ain't ever gonna be
all
only
three times
one Blade. That got the biggest response. And when you see him in the movie, who else could play Blade but him?
It's not that I don't like the idea. I just feel like, he can't do it anymore, man. I mean, he did it for that movie.
Not for 2 hours.
But like a Logan,
a
Logan-esque approach.
Well,
or Logan
That's what
type
Ryan
movie
Reynolds
would be
was
great,
saying.
yes.
we're gonna
Yeah,
look
there
at
it is.
Ryan Reynolds' tweet.
This is his
about-
goodbye. He never thought he'd get this. Let him get this. Let it be done. And just write Mahershala with a goddamn movie where he kills vampires. Stop trying to put his daughter in it. You know what I'm saying? Just give us a new, younger Blade movie and be done with it.
How hard is it to write a Blade movie?
Easy, but
It's not. It's
they
not
have
hard.
to put
It can't be.
ideology in it. That's why. But if you're saying they're course correcting, then it should be very easy to just put it to techno music and have him kill vampires.
Well, and Vince Vaughn recently, did y'all see his appearance on Hot Ones? He did an
Yes,
interview.
love that.
I love
And-
that.
Talked about
Yeah,
R-rated
he
movies.
talked about and
Yeah.
I think this kind of relates to that. He's saying the problem is that they just overthink it, and it's just kind of alluding to just this. They're scared of taking these leaps, or they want to make sure they don't lose their job over taking certain risks or something.
Yeah.
Or
And someone
just-
saying Blade doesn't fit the MCU. I'm sorry, Cook. The first time I ever
Yeah.
heard of Blade was in Spider-Man cartoon when he showed up. And I was, what the hell? Who is this? And then I learned about the character, and then Wesley Snipes got the movie. My point is, he could fit into the MCU just fine if you write it the right way.
But by the way, I love the fact that Ryan Reynolds thinks like us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like he does get it.
He gets
I
it.
feel
He's
like
a
at the end
fan.
of the day,
That's
Ryan
why.
Reynolds gets it, man.
And all
'cause
those
he's
jokes.
a fan himself, and like
were
Henry
very on
Cavill
point.
too. They get it. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's read this tweet from Ryan Reynolds. There is no Fox Marvel Universe or MCU without Blade first creating a market. He's Marvel Daddy. Please retweet for a Logan-like send-off. Deadpool. Okay,
oh, yeah.
so could they do a Logan-like, and maybe they combine
could.
the project that Mahershala Ali is doing with
Is
Wesley-
Chris Christopherson? I always mess up his last name. He's still alive. Chris Christopherson. He played
Whisper.
in the first Whistler. Yeah, thank you. Is he still
Whistler,
alive?
Yeah.
I think he
I
passed
Did
mean,
he pass?
Ryan
Either way,
Reynolds
they could still do it.
Ryan Reynolds is basically exerting his power with this. He realizes he will have the biggest R-rated movie ever, box office wise, the biggest Marvel movie since what? Spider-Man No Way Home. In fact, it might beat Spider-Man No Way Home at this pace. It's the box office theatrical needs it. Theatrical business needs it because more people going to see Deadpool Wolverine means more people are going to see other movies that are in theaters at the same time. So I think this is a flex from Ryan. What do you guys think?
I think he's
he
also
makes
the
sure
great
there's a send-off,
marketing too. I mean, he's a genius marketer. His
Yeah.
his out of the box marketing we witnessed in the first two Deadpool movies,
Right.
and I think he's going to the people.
What's
Like, if
Wesley in
enough
his 70s? Clint was doing In the Line of Fire in his 60s. He's jacked. He's with Renee Ruse. I'm just saying.
I think Wesley's 61. I think he's 61 or
he
62.
could do
Oh, wow.
Not
a
old at
Logan
all.
type.
Yeah,
Could it be like
he looks
something-
great, especially for his age. He's still in good shape. You can tell. Now, again, that's the question: can he do it for 2 hours? Can he do a full movie as the lead? That's the question that I would have. But I mean, I would love to see it, and I think it would be box office gold at this point with the Mahershala Ali situation. I think this would make more money than Mahershala.
Oh,
could
100%.
Well,
make
could
it
he
would.
be in that
So,
movie, like as a
would Marvel be-
mentor-ish?
Yeah.
Blade on
What do
Blade.
y'all think?
I mean,
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali's 50 though. Like that's the thing. They're going after guys
Yeah.
for subsequent
they need to
Blade
get
films
somebody
that
in
are
their 30s.
over the edge,
Yeah.
essentially. And I'm like,
They really
I
should
love
be
Wesley
going younger.
Snipes.
But
I think he could come back for a great send off. He
By
really
the
could.
time they reset everything, it's going to be the 2030s.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been
They get someone
watching,
younger.
if they do, yes.
I've been
So-
watching
so-
a proper mentor ship, like a Batman Beyond situation. I've been wanting that kind of theme because I don't really think we've gotten it on the big screen that much in the superhero realm, and I think
That's
that
Zorro,
that could be
yeah.
a good fit. Or Zorro.
Just Zora. That was almost 30
Yeah, that
years
was
ago.
great, and I
was
love that. I think that
perfect, yeah.
dynamic could really work in the comic book realm. I don't know why we haven't gotten it. I'm still waiting for Batman Beyond, and I thought that was such a wasted opportunity for Michael Keaton. So I
Right,
don't know if
yeah.
that situation could apply here. I'm
Well,
not
they did
that
it with
familiar with
Batgirl.
Blade,
Like
so-
that's what they were doing with Batgirl is the Batman Beyond, but for Batgirl, and it was so atrocious.
Oh,
Warner Brothers
so-
decided to write it off.
I'm so happy that Peter did that. So happy.
Also, a couple quick things. Max didn't have the Cape Crusaders show. There's a
Yeah.
reason they rejected it. It's on Amazon, dumped all in one day.
Oh,
But
I
I'll tell
didn't
you-
know that.
Wesley Snipes at 61 could run for president in 20 years.
Technically, yes.
Right?
And you'd have
Dude,
a no
I'd watch
taxes
Passenger
Batman.
58. Come on.
I'm all
Yeah.
in favor of this. I'm all in. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah,
just
I
don't
like the
have to
idea that
overthink
it-
it
yeah,
again.
that's-
Like,
Yeah,
just
no, I
don't
was
overthink
just-
it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
The reason why I
That's the
said no in
problem.
the
What has it
beginning,
been? It's been 5 years, right? It's been 5 years since they announced Mahershala as Blade.
yeah,
And here we are 5 years later, and they're still writing the script. They still don't have a director. They've fired 2 directors or let 2 directors walk. They've let multiple
4
writers.
scripts keep
Yeah,
changing.
it's like, okay, you guys are way overthinking this thing. It's Blade with cool weapons, killing vampires, the end. You don't really have to do much more than that. And that's what West, like, in the space of time, because I think the entire Blade trilogy spans like 6 years from 98 to 2004. So you're talking about in 6 years, they made 3 Blade movies, and in 5 years, they can't get one off the ground. They can't even get a script. That's
Different studio,
insane
yeah.
to me. That is
It's a different
freaking
studio.
insane.
It was
And-
overthought. And you know what? Here's the terrible thing. Blade was going to go on for at least 5 movies, but David S. Goyer killed it because he directed and screwed around with it. And Wesley Snipes got so fed up. He's like, I'm not doing this character if David S. Goyer is in it again. And Fox was lost. They had no clue what to do because they were like, these are the incredibly successful cheap movies that we're making. And all of a sudden one guy just decides David S. Goyer, he puts in Jessica Biel, Ryan Reynolds, because they were kind of rising at the time. And then a third of the movie is just MF bombs.
They're
That's it.
talking through post-it notes, and he's signing everything Blade. Like, yeah, that got like into a
When
weird
they
production.
had an argument over Wesley Snipes not wanting to open up his eyes. Like that's when you know things are not. Because
It's so
listen, not
stupid.
every film production goes smoothly. Sometimes a horrible film production ends up becoming a great film, but it's more often than not, a horrible film production becomes a horrible film. Blade Trinity kind of met that remark, and that's what's hurting. I think.
well, in all
X-Men
fairness,
got to be
too,
great.
Wesley Snipes was going through some weird stuff during that time as well.
The taxes.
Yes.
Right.
But we knew about all this drama between him and Ryan, which I guess they played up. If you hear what Wesley was saying, that they've played up that they don't like each other, but that everyone knew it, which made the jokes and the return so much more special.
Yeah.
At least for me personally, I know it's a lot of. If you put a lot of emotional attachment to it, then that's what elevates it. At least for me, it's like, oh,
You know
so good
what's
to see him
funny
again.
is out of all the Marvel properties, Blade is the easiest to write.
Do they want to make him in a
Literally
road
the
trip
easiest.
movie with his daughter and the daughter's friends, and then that got put out? Still the daughter, because the daughter's still the key to everything, where they're trying to get the daughter's blood, and I have no idea what they're doing. Just make him versus vampires.
Wasn't there a Blade series like?
Yeah,
On
Man, this was
TNT,
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't it something similar like that?
I never watched it
In
because Wesley
concept?
Snipes is my Blade.
Yeah,
I
remember
never saw it.
I heard it
I
wasn't
barely
horrible. I just
remember
never
it.
watched it.
I think it only lasted a season. But
And then
but-
everyone thought he showed up in Wolverine, but when you zoom in, it's actually race swapped Bullseye from the Ben Affleck movies, because you could see the scar and the Bullseye scar and the weapons and all that. So
So are we
Only
all
one
in
blade.
favor of this? Everyone? Like this
I
is
would
a
love
good idea.
I'm
if-
down.
Yeah.
I'm
Get
down.
For
Yeah.
an old man Logan type film, yes. But
Yeah.
for me, the reason why I said no in the beginning is because if they're really trying to start over, if they're really trying to set the MCU right, it might confuse people to have Wesley Snipes playing Blade again.
Yes.
But if you
Because
tell a
again-
good story, it confuses nobody.
Because even right now,
Yeah,
there are
exactly.
there are now 2 official universes in the MCU. There's the Deadpool universe, which is like 1065, and then there's the 616 Marvel. They are still considered separate at this moment. but they're not.
10,005, which
That's so
apparently is the same
confusing.
Earth at the end of Marvels, where Maria Rambeau ends up, and there's Beast
Yeah,
and
it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
Fox.
Photon.
So
It's the
it's the
Foxverse.
Fox
Okay.
universe versus the
Okay.
MCU universe.
Oh,
Right.
boy, this is
616
too
is MCU,
confusing.
Fox
to
is
It's
keep up with.
confusing,
Exactly.
yes.
For
Because
comic
616 is the
books-
comics.
For comics, it makes total sense for there
Yeah.
to be this like grand multiverse.
Actually,
opposite-
it rarely makes sense in comics too.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
it really
no,
does.
but I guess
Just
it's
have
more.
crises
People are more.
and, incursions and reset everything
Crises on
for 10
Infinite
years.
World is
No,
a
you know,
huge
that's what we're
epic
gonna get in
story of
DC.
convolution.
We're getting like Elseworld stuff because they got the Joker. That's not set in the James Gunn universe, and then we have what's the name, Batman, Matt Reeves'
The Batman.
Batman. That's also not set. So I don't know how that's going to work, but I mean they're doing
The
it.
Reeves
So why
verse.
can't they do that in Marvel? Say, okay, we're going to go
Yeah.
and make a Elseworlds for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I
Again,
even in the
it's still a
comics,
good
I have never
story.
liked multiverse stories at all. I just
No,
don't
but
think
if
they
you
work.
again, if you tell a good story, no one's going to be confused. No one's confused about Joker because it's a good story. When Joker 2 comes
right.
out, no one's going to be confused.
Well, I think if you don't rely on those other stories, if you don't have to have watched like the whole previous Infinity Saga or this last phase, I think that's the key thing. If the story can exist on its and stand well on its own without having to do all this research or expect all of this for the audience to keep up with, then yeah, I think that's the way to go forward. But if it relies so heavily, which is my concern going forward with Fantastic Four and Doomsday and all that, it still looks like it's going to be that the multiverse still exists, and it's going to be I still don't know, is Tony Stark, is this a variant of Doctor Doom? Do y'all know for sure?
It's such a dumb
Probably
idea.
yes.
I
to all the
hate the
things.
fact that Robert Downey Jr. came back as Doom. I thought
Deadpool and
like
Wolverine would just it was my wish that they
Reset.
would just reset everything and destroy all of the multiverses and just start fresh with Fantastic Four.
To
But it
chat.
sounds like
I'm sorry, real quick. I'm not the one saying that MCU is their 616. That's what Kevin Feige is saying, and it's in the goddamn movies, even though 616 is the comic book. So no,
well,
according to
616
now
in
canon,
Deadpool,
it's
in Deadpool,
616.
616 is the sacred timeline.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
But we're getting one actual lead when we're not the one contradicting. It's Feige who is contradicting. Even Kamala Khan told him that it's the comics that's 616. But
isn't it Kamala Khan or is it Kamala?
Kamala. What?
Kamala.
See what it's done to
But
me?
I think if we're being
Kamala.
honest here, the only way the MCU is going to succeed again is they got to cut ties with Disney Plus.
Oh,
They got to stop
that's
making
the
Disney Plus
cancer.
canon. They got to stop making it where people have
No
to see
homework.
the shows and in order to understand the movie.
Yeah.
The movies, they got to cut ties.
Well,
No,
the
the way-
golden rule is that
they-
every movie should stand on its own. Like, that's the thing.
Yes.
Marvel has broken that rule by making so many of them dependent on the Disney Plus series, and to some extent, some of the other movies, like Captain America: Brave New World, is now dependent on you having watched the Eternals because you have to understand why the Celestial is sticking out of the world. Like,
Can you imagine? Can you imagine telling Sam Raimi that he had to watch WandaVision before he could make Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah.
That's insane.
But are you honestly saying that if all the Disney Plus shows and all these movies in Phase 4 were good, that it would still have destroyed the Marvel universe?
In a way of having to do homework.
It has been consistently bad from the very start. And if they had done it right and if they'd done it good, we wouldn't be talking about it like this.
Exactly, because we wouldn't be treating it like homework. Because it's bad, we look at it like homework. But if it was good, it'd be like, well, it's just another Marvel thing. Oh, it happens to have these connections to it. That comes back down to the authenticity of telling the story. It's like
and you can
everything
do
should
TV
still
shows,
stand on
and
its
you can
own,
do
but
movies,
have
you
to
can
have
do
those-
whatever.
I liked
You have to have those
WandaVision until
little
it went
extra
nowhere.
I think it speaks to the fact that the creatives are having a hard time keeping it all straight, because you could see that with Phase 4, the Kang, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You could tell that they didn't really seem to communicate with each other or be really well versed into the lore and source material themselves about what they were dealing with, and that's why everything just feels so disconnected. And if it doesn't feel connected, then nothing really seems to be satisfying when we do watch the eventual film that connects all these things.
And that's the same exact problem that occurred in comic books. The various editorials, various writers and stuff were not always communicating with each other. They'd have one meeting at the beginning of the year, planning out what their 12 issues that month would be for each of the writers. They'd go do their thing. They'd come back, and then they'd be like, okay, well, what are we doing next? And then what you end up happening is you have that multiverse issues. You have basically DC editorial saying, we have 4 different Batman and 6 different Superman. What the heck are we doing here? How are we going to reconcile this into one thing so that people understand? Let's do a Crisis Infinite Earths event of like 500 some odd pages, cram it all together, and then do a massive reset. If basically the MCU is repeating this exact same thing on a film budget level scale, which is making it, almost untenable at this point. Where in the comics, it's like, well, all we have to do is worry about the publication and the distribution. Now it's like, well, you have to pay the writers, you have to pay the directors, you have to pay marketing, you have to pay studios, you have to build sets, you have to build costumes, you have to do post effects. Like it just compounds more in expense, and they're repeating the exact same mistakes that they should have learned back in '82. But now it's on film.
Let's pivot topics right now to Alan tells me Grace Randolph said something crazy.
Again?
So let's go to that.
Hey, Chris,
All right.
Star Wars is a big steaming pile of shit.
What was that?
Okay, I have 2 clips, so we'll.
All right, let's go here,
all right.
Alan. What is
All right.
this?
Okay, well, let's listen and then we'll talk about it.
All right, side note. I've seen some toxic trolls trying to say that Deadpool and Wolverine stars 2 heterosexual white men. But how close did you pay attention to this movie? Because I would argue that all the LGBT jokes and subtext, although most of it was not very subtle, in the film argue that global audiences are in fact just fine with LGBT characters, jokes and commentary, as long as they're organic and done in service of those characters in the story instead of virtue signaling. I think that checking boxes just, it undercuts and this is a disservice to the story and the characters. Whereas, here, this was just, I think, really strong representation, the kind that we've been wanting of the LGBT community. And look at all this money it made. Look at the audience scores. I think this is potentially a very big deal. And if anyone's pitching LGBT characters or product, I think they should include Deadpool and Wolverine in their presentation.
So are they? Well, wait, real quick. Are they pitching or hitting? That's the big question.
He's not a natural bottom.
About
Well, we know that Deadpool's the bottom because that's why he celebrates International Women's Day.
Yeah.
And he likes to get pegged.
Pansexual and his jokes are funny. That's the difference. But Ryan isn't. So that was the point, was that they hired to in real life. Well, depending on rumors.
I mean, she said two things. One I'm not exactly on board with, and that's the whole LGBT thing. But the other thing was, she did recognize that virtue signaling and checkboxing does not work, and that these stories need to be organic. I don't know that we joke about Deadpool being the gayest movie in the MCU, but is it? And
I think that's Eternals.
Yeah.
How do you spell Grace Randolph? Just for research purposes, Alan.
I don't know.
Look it up and let's look it up. Grace Randolph.
All right, let's take time.
I'm sure that's wrong.
Let's take time out of what we're doing here.
With a P-A-O-L.
Ampersand. It's an ampersand.
It's an ampersand.
I want to remind you the ampersand incident.
Yes.
So, Grace Randolph, audience, how is it spelled?
She's coming around. I think we can save her. She's becoming a little bit more base. I don't know. The more I'm learning. She seems sweet. She doesn't know.
Real quick here, just to show Alan, this is a Deadpool.
Love it.
Thing. And he's holding the ampersand.
Yes.
This is it's fixed. Oh, okay, good. All right. Well, that's fine. You have another video, Alan, right?
I have one more. This will be more fun.
Okay, that's cool.
Give me 1 second here. All right.
It's all good now.
Behold once again the power of MCU beefcake. I told you, beefcake is where it is these days. Although I'd be curious to know why you think the beefcake sells so well.
Oh, I'm clipping her.
Cheesecake does not. It's an interesting reversal, and even guys seem to enjoy, even straight guys seem to enjoy the beefcake because it unleashes a flurry of like men's health videos about like, what's your workout routine and what do you eat every day to look like that? It's like, it's the old saying, you either want to be with that person or be them, right?
Yeah.
She's not wrong.
What is cheesecake in this situation?
Cheesecake is women, sexy women.
Yeah, I guess Sydney Sweeney's career means cheesecake doesn't
and
sell.
Beefcake. Rat, if you were in the chat, I need you to clip her saying all of those beefcake lines. We will be playing those judiciously.
I mean, I think part of the appeal of superhero characters is the fact that they are perfect examples or desired examples of the human form, the same way that sculptors, whether you're Michelangelo or whoever, you're sculpting the beauty of the human form, and that's what heroics were all about. And when Marvel tried to give us safe Snowflake and Safe Space, those characters, remember that?
No. I'm trying to find that.
I mean, this idea that you want to try and turn superheroes into normal-looking people. It completely defeats the fantasy element of superheroics in the first place.
Hugh Jackman's abs make me go, how the hell do I get abs like that beyond ridiculous amounts of human growth hormone, which I'm willing to take? But how many ab workouts does he do? So men will look at it and go, how do I get like that? Women, and maybe I want that a little bit. And also women will look like, how do I get like that? And also I want that.
But it's odd to say that it's odd to try and impose this idea of normality on superhero characters, because they are by definition fantasy characters.
Super. By definition,
just like you look at the Boris Vallejo, or you look at some of the great Frank Frazetta, the great fantasy artists. Nobody wants to see, dad bod superhero.
No, that's the point.
Look, I make mention of this all the time. When you look at romance novel covers, remember Fabio and all those guys? That's what sells to that market. Those guys look like beefcake, right? That's what they're
fantasy
purchasers
characters
want to look at. That's what they care about. That's what they want to look at. That's their fantasy. Like Rob is saying, it's fantasized. Yeah. But if you put dad bod guy on the cover of a romance novel, how well is it selling? So you really want to think about this. It's the same thing with comic book characters. Like you mentioned, Snowflake and Safe Space and all of that nonsense. It's like, that's not what people want to look at. That's not what the purchaser care about.
Van Damme,
Schwarzenegger. I think stories across the board is you're not looking for people who are like us. You're looking for people who we aspire to be.
But they created that. They created that false narrative, though. They create the false narrative that we need to see ourselves in these characters. It's like, no, we don't. I didn't read comics back in the day because I wanted to see myself.
I prefer not to. Yeah.
I think it works in like video games too.
Same with video games, right?
If I want to play as someone cool looking.
Right. Yeah. If you make them like the most, exactly.
But male or female, I want them to look cool.
Yes.
They took the concept of the aspirational character and they said, no, we have to make it relatable. And it's like, no, we are conventional. We as an audience are conventional. We're the average human being. We have all our flaws, all our foibles. The superhero, the fantasy, whether it's the Greek hero, the superhero, the detective, whatever, it's all about the aspiration. It's like, you could be this if you could find a way to measure your morals against theirs.
Who else watched Van Damme?
It's impossible, but you could try, and the effort is what's the noble aspect of it.
But also something great said that I think we're kind of overlooking here is that now it's just wrong to show cheesecake, right? It's wrong to show women being sexy. I literally just watched, and I think I told you guys this, that episode of The Boys where they had literally a human centipede of guys just face in each other's asses, right? Totally naked, balls, dick, everything out, right? But they won't show one female boob.
Not this season.
In the entire series.
That's like a Tuesday at Film Threat. Anyways.
I'm just saying, like, they made it so like, okay, we can't show anything from a woman, but we can show men totally naked.
And I've said this before,
it's
not like things have to be overtly like us. I mean, it depends on the character, it depends on the IP and which version. So I guess Elektra, we saw that. She looked a little different though than her movie, but she's still attractive. She doesn't have to be like overtly like in a bikini or anything like that to be attractive and fit and looking good. And she looked good.
Okay,
so
and I'm not saying that you can't.
Too.
I'm not saying you can't do that. What I'm saying though is Hollywood's made this weird shift now, right? Where if a woman's naked on screen, there has to be all these consultants, right, on set, right? But if a guy just wants to, drop trowel, no problem.
Yeah. Well, the male gaze is evil,
right?
The regular the male gaze. But no, in we are. Especially in the post-Me Too era, we're, whether rightly or wrongly, we're all bad. We're all predators. We all ruin the world because we're white, male, Western civilization people that have been doing nothing.
Black men get it too. We get it too.
Well, yes, no, of course. But which is a bizarre place to be because we're all wandering around going, I'm biologically hardwired to like big asses and boobs. What do you want from me? How am I supposed to deny evolution?
I will say too,
that's what they want to do though, right? Because here's the thing, I guarantee you, if it was an issue of sexualizing a trans woman, they'd be all for it. They would be all for it, right? But sexualizing an actual woman, yes, I said actual, I don't give a fuck. But when it comes to that, we're the villains. We're the creeps.
Let's remember they killed an Asian man in The Acolyte for this.
I mean, personally, I'm not that uber into like seeing overly like sexual things for men either. Like I know Chris Hemsworth, they made sure to get the money shots with him so many times, but I already knew he was fit and attractive and I didn't need to see him without his shirt off and like wet coming out of a pool or anything to know that. Because also, if it depends on what character hero it is. So for Thor and for Superman, having that Greek god like really uber fit appearance, but for other ones that are humans like Batman, he's just at the peak of what he can achieve as far as fitness. And Michael Keaton's Batman is attractive to me too. So I don't think it needs to go that far either way for male or female. I think as long as you're not uglifying either one and making sure just be choosing flattering things, flattering for their figure and making them attractive, like that would make me, I'd be fine with that too.
Let's pivot for a moment. This is from out.com. Thank you, Rob, for the link. We are so over the homophobic marketing campaign for Deadpool and Wolverine. I see this and I think it's kind of funny.
Where's the fear of gay? It looks like it's really embracing it.
By the way, who is we? When they say we are so over this, who is we?
It's Out magazine, so we can figure that out.
They speak for all the homosexuals, apparently.
Well, there's this idea that it's also using it's exploiting that gay subtext where it's not really there. They're trying to create
pansexual.
Whereas Deadpool is a pansexual character and all that. Like you win if you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Exactly.
And,
he's a child. He makes jokes. I make these jokes. I'm not even pansexual. I make the same jokes. It makes your friends uncomfortable, makes other people watching the jokes uncomfortable and gets a laugh. That's the whole point of the humor.
And Deadpool is queer baiting.
Yeah.
He's dangling it in front of everybody to make them uncomfortable to see it. And
because obviously he's in love with woman Vanessa, but it's there for the reactions and it's funny. I don't know.
Yeah, and the box office shows that we're not over it.
Right.
Well, I was gonna say, what I feel like there are certain communities, no matter what, you can do no right. No matter what you do, they will find something to complain. I think that this, how were they supposed to market this movie? Buddy comedy. There's there's subtext. I think subtext works. So
they did market it that way. They did a couple different marketing campaigns. The marketing campaign has been insane, which I'm sure Script Doctor will appreciate since he was talking about it. All the commercials seem to have been written by Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. And the thing is, the gimmick worked. He played into something that people were desperate for, a cheeky banter between two very charismatic men. And not only that, like an 8-year fake feud on social media between these two really does help because that builds the anticipatory market as well.
It brings it to a head, so to speak.
It's the long game, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, we will get to. By the way, we will get to these super chats, folks, at the end of the show. So please, thank you for your patience and your participation. The chat is on fire. For those who have not subscribed, please subscribe to Film Thread and like this so it's shared to more people. And by the way, the links to everyone on this show are in the description. Subscribe to everyone's channel. I am a fan of everyone who's here. And
And yes, pansexual means you are attracted to pan. Sorry, real quick, I went to E3 in 2013. This is the first time I've ever heard of pansexual, where the guy said, I like guys and girls. I was like, oh, so you're bi? He goes, no. I'm something called pansexual, where it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. I'm attracted to the personality or the spirit of the person.
So you're bisexual.
Yeah, basically. That's the thing is it's a bunch of new fancy terms for the shit that we already had names for, but they want to feel special, so they need their own term.
Yeah, I don't think the term was around with like Captain Jack Harkness, but I think that could also be attributed to him.
Sure. And by the way, everyone liked that character because it was written well and it didn't feel like it was done to piss everyone off.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Funny how that works.
And also, let's just be honest here, man. Numbers don't lie, right? So for all these people complaining and saying all this BS, at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie.
That's a very small percentage of a very small percentage.
Well,
I mean, clearly, like superhero fatigue doesn't exist. It's bad story fatigue. It's creativity by committee fatigue.
Yeah.
Clearly, fans are willing to come out in record-breaking droves, and I feel like that is just proves that if you appeal to fans and not a demographic, then that's that's the way to go. Like if
They don't
you
want
appeal
to
to
be
your fan
preached
base,
to. They don't want to be
The critique
preached
is
to.
never on the audience side. It's always on the people that make it. Because again, Marvel made what 35 movies. Yeah, if they haven't had much turnover over there, they're tired, and we're seeing a result of that in all their content. So you need new blood. You need to reinvigorate things. Hollywood works on cycles where every 20 years or so, there's always a little bit of a decline, but people from the independent sphere make it big. They're brought into Hollywood. They're allowed to do what they do. They reinvigorate the industry again, and people go back because, again, it's not us we get tired in the sense of, oh, we know it's crap. But the thing is, if it's great, we'll go back to it because we're an addictive species by nature. We like things that make us feel good and feel well. But if we keep on pushing it, just like we're cutting, like, for a drug analogy, if you have great cocaine out there and you start cutting it with Clorox bleach every decade or so, and it gets more and more where it's more bleach and less cocaine, people are going to get tired. People are not going to do it, and you're going to get exhausted because you're spending all this money trying to make something that's not what it's actually being sold as.
Oh no, we've been snorting baby powder for a long time now in the MCU. It's time to get some pure Colombian space marching powder in here.
And when it
want the
comes
good
to,
stuff from the comics.
When it comes to the marketing that you were saying before, that marketing is so important, and I feel like it's lost too on a lot of studios, the importance of it. And I think with Ryan Reynolds, like clearly, he's just been out there continually promoting this film, and every moment he gets, he's working hard to promote it, and his passion is, it's contagious. That's a huge part of the marketing. Barbie was like a huge deal with that as well. I feel like if the Fall Guy had a better marketing campaign, I feel like they didn't even market it, to be honest. I didn't even know what the film for sure was going to be about. Like, they didn't even say that it was a romance or a rom-com between the two leads, but that's important. But yeah, they didn't. It's a lost art, I think.
But here's my question, right? Here's my question.
Don't attack the fans. That's a simple thing.
The question I have is, does Hollywood learn from this? Do they learn their lesson from this, or is it business as usual?
Some studios have learned, but the thing is, we're not going to see the results for another year, 1 to 2 years. Disney's never going to learn because they don't want to. They're stuck in their ways right now. So long as they're under the same leadership, they're never going to adopt any new ideas because that's how Hollywood works. Yeah, the other part is it's not so much if Hollywood learns, it's do independent filmmakers who will eventually become to Hollywood, have they learned? Are they able to use this angle? Are they able to gear this towards the stuff that they're making so that they can get attention and so that they can kind of, be the trailblazers that are needed in order to keep this industry thriving?
So, okay, here's a question I have, Script. So with the current climate being what it is in studios now, right? Mm-hmm. So those independent filmmakers, do they have a chance nowadays the way that older independent filmmakers had their chance when they made it big?
It's tough because the distribution model is completely different. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of oversaturation. So how do you stand out? The competition is also, as it is now, there's a lot of people that have been ingrained in the industry that what used to be a gate kept where you yourself forge the key and then you make your way into entry. They've put gum in the locks at this point. They just don't want you in some cases, in some areas. And the
only way you can stand out is if you're like Oz Perkins with Neon or Robert Eggers over at A24, take your pick. I mean, you have to have even the great boutique indie distributors are gate kept. Like, you have to have made the top 1% of indie film to even get recognized by a distributor that can get your movie into a theatrical venue. So,
and the big part of that is because the marketing itself has no longer become an art form. It's now become spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And when you remove the art from the art form, you get a derivative product. And that's the other part too. Like, you would never get something like, oh God, why am I spacing on the name? It was one of Richard Linklater's earlier films. Slacker. You wouldn't get Slacker. You wouldn't get, any of the, you wouldn't get, Reservoir Dogs today. You wouldn't get any of this stuff. You wouldn't get anything from you wouldn't get El Mariachi from Robert Rodriguez today with the way that the system is working right now, because the ones that would finance that movie could probably pay the bills to finance the film, but to get it out there, to get it onto a market, you're basically the only options are a couple of small streaming platforms and Tubi. And as much as people watch Tubi, there's so much there that how does your thing stand out? How do you get people to do there? You have to start building a social media platform where you're in the tens of millions if you want to be able to see some real numbers on your independent projects these days. It's a very different dynamic. And I think that's why platforms like YouTube are able to be a bit more competitive, because if you've got one viral video that will get you to, over that first 100,000, and And then that can, and if you can get more and more doing that, it grows, it multiplies, and eventually you can get into there. You can go like Chris Stuckman, who he's doing his own independent things, even though he's got a massive YouTube following. People are not really going to see his movies, not on the scale that he thinks it's going to be shown.
He didn't do himself any favors not reviewing certain movies.
Well, also, I've read his screenplays. They're not very good. For a guy who reviews movies, I'd expect him to have learned a little bit more.
Do you? Does that equate reviewing movies and then actually being able to do it?
Not always.
Well,
no.
I could write a bad movie too.
Truffaut and Godard did it.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, let's pivot to another topic related to this, oddly. So, Alan, you have that story all queued up?
If I think I
Here
know
we
what
go.
story you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes, hold on.
Apparently, lead roles for women have dropped. This is from The Wrap. So this is a study from in the last year, 2022 to 2023. Lead roles for women have dropped 14%. It doesn't feel like it.
I haven't noticed.
I don't know.
I've noticed, but it has to do with the fact that we have way more than 14% less comedies out there. And one of the things where women could be leads in was a comedy, a romantic comedy specifically. How many of those have we seen over the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, because they don't know how to do comedy, so that would make sense.
Well,
it's
the
not that
picture they
know how to do
choose,
it. It's
this
they
picture
don't
for
sell.
was a Joyride was a great movie.
It was a really good movie.
I loved
I
it.
meant comedy like modern Tropic Thunder type of fun comedy that they don't know how to do because they're all
Joyride.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, it's one of the
I'd
things that
watch
they're
that.
apprehensive to that is every feature film that a studio puts out has to work on the international market, and localizing a comedy is a difficult thing. Deadpool and Wolverine is a miracle in that regards.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like Joyride, which I thought was okay. I mean, I've seen better comedies on the independent side than that, but it was good for what it was. It was trying to be edgy. It was trying to be raunchy. It was trying to reinvigorate what people wanted to see in comedies again. But the genre is not dead for a lack of the audience. The genre is dead because studios are just not confident in getting their money back on the international market. They don't realize that comedy is supposed to be a domestic return product. It's supposed to be under 20 million. You make it for the localized audience, you make it for the United States and other English-speaking countries. That's your target demographic. They're so concerned about China, about parts of Russia, about India, about all those other demographics that a lot of our culture doesn't always translate into for them. And they look at that as instead of looking at it as like seizing the most money in the markets we can get, they look at that as those are markets that don't want this stuff. Therefore, it's money lost. Therefore, we're not going to invest in it. And that's what hurts us. And that's why women.
Yeah, that was my question. What's the box office for these lead roles for women films looking like? Are they also dropping? Because that could explain the reason why they're not putting them in as lead roles. Is
in the
we're
genre,
not getting the return on our investment.
If they're not in the right genre, then yeah, it's obviously going to drop. I mean, the Marvels was what, like 350 million worldwide or something like that. 3 main leads in a genre that women don't really care about. But you take a look at Anyone But You, Sydney Sweeney, main lead, romantic comedy, blew up.
To see Barbie.
Did this include 2023 or to the beginning of 2023? It's just 1 year.
It is funny. More men went to go see the Marvels than women. Like just by demographic, more men went to go see. Even we get attacked.
More men are comic fans. That's why more men.
What? How dare you say that very true thing that they've ignored?
Yeah, I really honestly haven't noticed. I feel like there's a lot of media that features female leads that are successful.
So oversaturated,
but
you don't even notice.
But there are just ones that don't land right. That's just not conceived well. It's not produced well, poor quality all across the board. And yes, those won't do well and maybe will require a pivot. If you're trying to force women into or female stories into certain things, I think that's not working. But you have shows like Bridgerton, you have other shows that are specifically for women, and that there's tons of
House of the Dragon has 2 women at the forefront
and Fallout,
right now.
Arcane, and in this year, I mean, Dune had a lot of female leads.
I mean, is this a level set as well? Are they, maybe it was up from previous years and now it's just kind of dropping back to normal? I don't know.
They also were looking for this.
Tell me a lot. Just saying for 1 year it dropped 14%. That doesn't tell me, overall, snapshot of the industry.
They were looking for this answer.
Yeah, it's
I
like
mean,
the data
a lot
that you
of
want to
these
find.
things
You can
are-
always find data wherever you want to find. Exactly,
Yes.
Rob. Exactly.
And that's one of the things I think is very disingenuous. We live in a very insincere time, and a lot of these studies they keep poking this thing. I mean, they want us to believe that there's this horrible oppression happening in the entertainment business, and the fact is, you can do anything you want if you want to do it. I don't believe in gatekeeping in Hollywood. There's gatekeeping at studios because it's all about money. And what Script Doctor was saying, comedies are colloquial. What one country finds funny, another country doesn't understand. So it makes sense. The problem is the studios are no longer in the business of making domestic movies. They're only in the business of making worldwide global hits. They've forgotten, you know, unless you look at Neon. Neon made off Long Legs. I don't know how they spent on it. It's how much money they spent on it, but they've made over $70 million. It's their biggest hit. Now a studio's like 70 million, you know, but if you made 70 million on a 10 million or $15 million spend, that's hugely profitable. But the studios are only interested in what Wall Street finds sexy. You know what's cool? $1 billion, as our friends, as Sean Parker said in The Social Network. And this is the entire problem. It's the entire problem with our whole civilization. People are chasing global amounts of money when really you can have a very profitable business if you look at it locally. Why aren't they making $25 million comedies that gross 200 million? You make 4 of those a year. That's a great business, but it's maybe not a business that Wall Street finds acceptable because they want you to make billions. But that is the kind of thinking that is destroying our capitalist system.
Yeah, I want to read the headline, the subhead here. It's a quote from USC's Dr. Stacy L. Smith. If the industry wants to survive its current moment, it must examine its failure to employ half the population.
Where's that math?
well-
How does that math work out?
That is some weird math, because one thing that I was oversaturated with after John Wick came out was everyone wanted to do guy with a gun, but the gimmick was it's got to be a girl with a gun. And I can't tell you how many screenplays I had to read of female lead action stars just piling through my email, just putting it up, thousands of emails of you got to do. I need coverage of this. Is coverage of this? What is it? Girl with a gun, or girl female lead, girl spy, girl superhero, girl actioneer, girl detective, all those types of things. I mean, what Dante pointed out, yeah, there was an oversaturation of it. We had way too much, and now maybe this starting to balance out again, because for a while there, who's the biggest male lead that came out over the last 10 years? Henry Cavill tried, but people aren't really showing up for his stuff. Glenn Powell is on the rise, but you know, he's still maybe a good year out before we actually start acknowledging that. Tom Cruise is the last big male lead, and he started in the 80s. So who's the new male lead? Who's the new voice? Like Bradley Cooper came and went. Nobody's paying attention to him anymore. It's out there. It's because we've been oversat. We have all these other female leads. There's a lot of female actors we are well aware of now. Why do we know them as household names so easily? Well, they've been in movies that are outside of the normal genre for them, and they've also been terrible.
Let's switch to another topic before we get to super chats here.
Pivot.
This is from the Hot Button, which is David Poland's blog. It's his Substack. There will be a link in the description. I found this really interesting, just because it's an examination of the numbers and the pie. How is the pie? Says the future of filmed entertainment, episode 2 TV. He's going through, and David's one of the great commentators on the really what's going on. He drills deep on all these topics.
Giggity.
Is not trying to find an answer. He presents what the facts are. I don't know if you read David Poland. I have for years.
I have for years too.
He's great. So here he breaks down the pie on streaming. Some stuff that may surprise you. As of June 2024, number 1 streaming is YouTube at 9.9%. Number 2, Netflix, 8.4%. Prime Video, 3.1%. Hulu is 3%. Disney Plus, 2%.
Yes, they did that to themselves.
By the way, Tubi is 2% tied with Disney Plus, and Tubi is free. My movie is on Tubi. Attack of the Dog.
Mine too.
The Roku channel, 1.5%. I have I have several Rokus. If you have one, it's great. 1.5% of the market. Max, I'm surprised about this. Max is only 1.4%, but some of the best programming by far.
Yeah.
Yep.
1.2% Peacock, 1.1% Paramount. And here we are. Here's how it's broken. Streaming is 40% of the market, broadcast 20.5%, cable's 20. People still have cable. Cable is cable 27%, and other, whatever that means.
TikTok.
Is that like Apple? It's not even on here.
No.
Yeah.
Is that on the other streaming or not?
Yeah, maybe they're not on the chart because they're so low.
Oh wow.
Apple is that? Who has Apple TV Plus that I subscribe for a month?
I did it for All Mankind, and then I watched Severance, which I thought was really good, and so it's like I've kept it.
And then
I know, and C with Jason Momoa, where they're all blind. Huge plot convenience, but if you buy into that one thing, it was good. But yeah, they must just be able to tank all those losses. For All Mankind is worth it. Joel Kinnaman, that is a good show. But
great show.
This gives you perspective on how much the pie is broken up. Why it's really difficult for one thing to resonate in the culture like a Deadpool and Wolverine. It's so segmented. So
well, because you also have to look at age groups, man. Like people in their 20s and younger, they're streaming.
They're watching YouTube, or
they're not
or the other stuff.
Yeah, you can't really produce, like, I guess what Apple is doing. The recent financial report came about them like spending $20 million an episode for Severance season 2 on a show that's mostly just in office spaces or
really?
And not VFX heavy. So it's like
maybe they did. How did they spend that much? It is literally in just one office building.
Yeah, and Foundation, they had to shut down mid-production and get a new showrunner basically to like handle the financial situation. So if you
ruins
can't
everything.
you can't justify spending so much money on when you're getting like no views or just in this streaming platform where cheap entertainment is the thing.
That shows you
as
how
the
much
people
money
are watching
they got.
YouTube.
Yep. Shows you how much they got that they can tank that. Not even on a list, and they're still going to be making all those series.
And you know why? And you know why YouTube is so big? It's because it's free.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's free. You don't have to pay for YouTube.
Comes on phones. It's the apps now on TV. It went from the small screen to the big screen. People turn on YouTube
more
instead
than that,
of other
I think
things.
it's also you can kind of tailor what it is that you're watching. Like you can pick your own channels that you follow and watch, and you have an assortment of everything on YouTube that you could possibly want. Some of that doesn't really, like opinion shows like this, or you can actually find people that do skits. There's music that you can pick up on YouTube. I mean, YouTube has it all. So
plus interactive. You can tell the people you're watching
and
you think
it's
they're
interactive,
dumb or great. You can't do that on TV or mainstream news.
Go to the comments.
It's also short in length. They also serve up content that you'd be interested in. So you don't have to wade through it all. I mean, it's very customizable, and I think that's
and if you like long form content, it's there too. So, like you said, it's very customizable for everyone. There's something for everyone.
And I think for sci-fi, for these shows, I think the answer is either cable or where you have these additional revenue sources, or just to be cheap. And I'd be fine with going back to the days of cheap or sci-fi on a budget because we produce great stories.
More on all these streaming sites than I think I was on just one cable thing. Granted, it's easy access, but
can you imagine like how well the theaters would do if they went back to like $10 tickets?
Yeah,
just $10 tickets.
They do
not even $5.
They do have $5 Tuesday. I want to apologize to everyone about. Apparently, my mic is having issues. I will venture to fix that. But,
but I mean, other than special days, like if they just went back to a $10 ticket price, they would get more asses and seats. But
man, they're barely surviving. They're just now.
You're asking a lot for $20 a ticket, though, man.
Well,
they make their money in concessions too. They barely make money on those tickets.
Was the one who commented that movies were blue collar entertainment.
Yep,
that's why a lot of the stories were very much blue collar.
Yeah,
We're focused on.
Some mishandling in the economy has actually changed it. The inflation is mostly the reason for the prices. I mean, before the way we had inflation now, at least prior to 2008, prices are going up out of greed, and then the audiences are kind of pulling back a little bit, and then the theaters were like, okay, we can't actually charge $17 for for a film will go back to 15, 14, and
Yep.
then the dollar started to lose its power. Now the price goes up. It's always going to go that direction, unfortunately. And the only way you can kind of do that is if we have a booming economy where people have disposable income and they want to take the risk to go see a movie. So it has to be disposable income on the economic side of things. And it has to be studios and people making movies trying to do something very inventive, clever, engaging, entertaining, all those things, and be able to sell it well so that people want to go out and do something.
Dude,
Right
think
now,
about this, man. If you're a guy going on a date with a girl, how much it cost just to go to the movies with that girl? To buy two tickets, a bucket of popcorn, and a soda, man. That's almost $100 for
Add
that
in
date.
parking, and then you have dinner, and then whatever else, and you're like, well, there's a
but I'm talking about just for the movie theater, right?
Just
Forget
theater,
dinner. I'm talking about just for the theater itself. You're dropping about $100.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, my wife and my daughter. Anytime we go out to the movie, it's $100.
My girlfriend and I, we started going to Yuck Yucks Comedy Club because it's just far more affordable than it is going to the movie theater.
Wow. Yuck Yucks. Shout out to Yuck Yucks.
Yeah.
Well, if you really just want to battle the economy, don't have a girlfriend. That's my method.
Chris, that's
use
the
my
cheapest
financial
way.
plan. My financial plan is to not have a girlfriend.
That's why you can afford those damn Godzilla shoes.
That's why I'm getting them.
That'll get you a girlfriend
All
real
right.
quick. Trust me.
Before we get to Supers, a quick reminder: if you live in Los Angeles, at the Montalban Theater is the Batette Follies of 1939. It's a Batman themed, unauthorized burlesque show. It is a parody. And this weekend is the last weekend, and you can get free tickets to the link in the description. Use code BAT100, or for Thursday's show, for everyone from Film Threat, use the offer code Film Threat for free. Tickets are $50, or get them for free. So now, everyone, if you live in LA or if you live in Orange County, Badger, come up to the show. Get some tickets.
Badger, you're Orange County?
I mean, I'm in Long Beach. I don't know what county you would count that as.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Adjacent. Just consider it adjacent there.
You're
no, I didn't know you were a local boy.
Yeah, I'm here. Don't worry. We're stuck together.
Yeah,
we'll
so,
battle our way out of here to Texas once it all goes to shit. Don't worry. We'll meet up.
Last weekend for this show, so check it out. I love giveaways. So there we go.
It's gone forever.
Yeah.
Well, yes, because there's legal issues. All right, let's get to Supers. You've been waiting really patiently. Angry Badger is ready.
Always. Film Threat. Here we go. All right, we got a Rumble rant for 2. Hail the panel, hail the chat. I love having early evening shows on the East Coast. Question for the panel: what's a movie or show that I should have in my physical collection? I'm rebuilding mine. Yeah.
Oh, it's too many.
And it's from Deeple 101. By the way.
The Warriors.
Absolutely, the Warriors.
That new transfer is amazing.
I'm also going to go the Kurt Russell trifecta, which is The Thing, Big Trouble Little China, and Escape from New York. You got to have those 3.
Robert, don't think I don't see that Escape from New York figure back there. Snake Plissken and the tiger stripe.
It's there.
Everybody,
I've also got Warriors action figures.
Physical
You can't
media.
see them
Nice.
from this angle.
Trimmers. You need trimmers. Trust me, you'll enjoy it.
Any other ones?
You need the 4K of Almost Famous. It's great.
Oh, actually, really quick, I want to say this. Chris, the Batette Follies that Chris was just promoting. Guys, great date. Great date, man. Get those tickets, man, and take a girl, and I'm telling you, you're going to have a good time.
Because she will aspire to be what she sees on.
Yes.
And yeah, Conan the Barbarian 4K. I agree.
Oh, I just watched it.
Oh, it's great.
Holds up so well.
Basil Polydoros. Oh my God, the score.
Chris, what is best in life?
Crush your enemies. Driven before you and hear the lamentations of the women.
That's beautiful. I couldn't have said it better myself. Pilgrim Media for 2. Not just change, sincerity on bended knee Hollywood. Yeah.
We need that. We need
Graph Web for 2. In the name of all that is holy, hashtag cancel Disney Plus. There you go. I love you, buddy. Puck 971 for 5. Wayne Wang directed Smoke After Joy Luck Club, and it's a gem of a film from the 90s. One of my favorite indie films.
There you go.
G-Man for 5. Yes, Chris is an idiot, but not because he bought those shoes. Love you, brother.
Hey, love you back. All right.
16-bit mascot for 5. Hail, Mr. Gore, and this fine panel. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Stubble McShave for 100 Martian pesos. I know it's like sweet or something. I was a white preteen living in Sweden when Coming to America was released. I loved it. I didn't care that people looked different than me. I connected with the humanity and the comedy.
As I've said many times, it's all fiction is about empathy. You see the world through someone else's eyes, and the politics of division is really, really hurting this country. I see it. I've seen it more now. Dante and I talk about it all the time. This country's been through changes, but the division that is being pushed by the media and politicians it's loathsome and made objectively making things worse.
Much worse
with people and I say this as someone who was not participating in White Guys for Kamala. For some reason, White Dudes for Kamala, I didn't get the invite. I don't know why.
Me neither.
Me neither. And I'm as white as you can get.
That was weird.
Well, you're Canadian. That's
yeah. Strange. Anyways.
Oliver Laveri Farag for 199. The title practically writes itself. Blade 2049.
Yes.
Oh, we have to wait that long?
ETK 1138 for 5. A Snipes Blade is unlikely, but motherfuckers are always trying to skate uphill. I skate uphill.
Yeah.
Yes. Albert, not a retro for 5. Maybe Marvel should reboot with Marvel 2099. Then the Fantastic Four time travel makes even more sense. Plus, that had a smaller group of heroes.
Nice.
Yeah. ETK 1138. Why aren't you at your post, bro? If Doctor Strange can work in MCU, then Blade can work. Yeah, Blade can work.
Oh, wait. Someone gave us a very good friend.
Oh, Adrian.
Hi, Adrian. Remember when we talked about Nerd Girls and how they were unicorns? You wanted to meet Nerd Girl Prime that we would all willingly Anakin Skywalker entire planets for?
Adrian is Nerd Girl Prime.
Hi, Adrian Curry for 10. This show is lame and hey.
That's right. Oh my God. Adrian, open invitation. Join us here. You can just hang out
anytime you want. And Badger Cast right after this. You're more than welcome. Just hit me up. Thank you. Albert, not a retro for 2. Bullseye wasn't race swapped in Affleck's Daredevil. No, he wasn't, which is why critical listening is important. What I said was in Deadpool and Wolverine, what everyone thought was Blade, now we have pictures, is actually a race swapped version of Colin Farrell's Bullseye from said movie.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Albert.
Mattuine for 20. Marvel needing you to watch its previous shows to understand new movies is like Apple making products that only work with their branded accessories. Lightning cable.
Oh, that's so true. If you buy an off-brand lightning cable, it never works. An off-brand one is terrible.
Yeah. Stubble McShave for 50. I seem to remember that Lynch was one of the first directors considered for Return of the Jedi. I'd like to see that movie just to see how it would have turned out.
Oh, it would have been so different.
I talked to him about it on Film Thread. It's in the Film Thread interview. I'll put the link. I'll find it. Well, keep going here.
I would have loved if he had had the budget to have Wookiees instead of.
It would have been on par with like Udarovsky's Dune. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Zian Hugh for 742. It's a very specific number. Everything can be connected without requiring you to have seen any other movie or show. There will just be Easter eggs for those who have seen it. Sort of what they were doing originally. CD Stein 69. Remember for 9 months. My question is, how is a Deadpool whose greatest love of his life is a woman that he wants kids with is the gayest movie, locker room jokes aside? Correct?
This is the David Lynch interview I did years ago. I talked to him about Return of the Jedi, and he discusses it. So I'll put the link in the description.
Cool.
So, all right. Cool. Moving on. Thanks, CD Stein.
Albert, not a retro for 10. Grace supported Cuties while she opposed Sound of Freedom. Beefcake clearly isn't enough. Otherwise, sexually assisting Thor in Love and Thunder would have made it more money. Yeah, I think they meant something else, but we'll keep it with assisting. Yeah, of all of them, they did get him naked in that movie. 16-bit mascot for $350. Hail dudes, great panel. Also, hi nerd cookies, my girl.
Oh, hello.
She's very popular. Elaine is very popular.
Very popular.
And I watch all of her videos, and I'm behind right now. Currently behind.
J for 5. Peter Poole in the movie had a dad bod, and it worked. Happy birthday, Rob. It's like that's not all he had poking out there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Rob.
Well,
yes.
that's a dad bod, not Jason Momoa. They keep trying to say that, put that on him.
No, yeah, that was a true dad bod. Albert, not a retro for 5. Getting pegged on International Women's Day is woke and stuff like that from a simp like Ryan Reynolds. You just need to be more progressive. All right, you're probably a selfish lover.
Yeah, I
You
was
just
going to say,
celebrate.
if you have the right partner, it's not. Just saying.
Red French Moon for 2. Rob, reassure me, you still like Buffy though, right?
Okay, I love Buffy and I really like Angel.
Yes.
But the problem is the people that grew up watching Buffy and Angel are trying to turn every TV show into those two shows.
Right.
And they can't be. And I've been saying that on my show a lot. And people are misconstruing it that I don't like Buffy and Angel. I love Buffy and Angel.
Yeah.
But when you're turning Star Trek into that,
no,
not so good.
Nah, yeah.
It's
Not so
turning
good.
everything into Joss Whedon humor, which is just let Joss do that.
And the problem
back
is
and
it
forth.
shows that those writers don't know anything themselves. They're emulating somebody that wrote 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Also,
another voice.
a hot take for me, Angel, better show than Buffy for me.
Well, here's the other thing, and Rob, you and I have discussed this before. It's not even just Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's also Battlestar Galactica by Ronald D. Moore. They're trying to take the edginess of the politics of that show, mix it with Buffy, and throw it into their new stuff. And that's where you get two things that don't always work well together by writers that don't understand what either of those two writing styles are.
No, and you know the another thing is that even the politics is not nuanced and well thought out. I mean, I'll tell you something. Going back and watching The Paper Chase, which is something I'm like, why don't you make a Starfleet Academy show and make it like The Paper Chase, not like Buffy and Angel? The problem is no one knows that show. But when you go back and watch it, like we were talking about earlier, watching The Jeffersons or watching All in the Family, the people writing those shows, even though it was the 70s, were a lot smarter than the TV writers today.
Yeah. Look at The West Wing, shit like that. Adrian Curry is our anchor being. I mean, for nerds, for sure. I would wager all of the planet, but yes.
100% she is. She's so great, and I like that she doesn't give an F.
No.
She just speaks her mind.
Twisted Reality, remember for 1 month, laugh out loud. One section is saying it's the gayest movie, and then there's another crowd saying it's gay bashing with all the gay jokes. That's the best part about it. Let them fight.
Yeah.
Let them fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go. And finally,
thank you to our mods, all of our mods, including Lori, and everyone else that shows up.
There you go.
Is that it?
So
any last minutes?
That's it for no last minute ones. That's it. It's a good show, folks. We'll be back next week with more versus Hollywood on the Rocks on Wednesday. We're going to talk about Batman on that because Alan and I will have seen all of it. And then Friday review of Borderlands. Last minute super here came in. Here we go. Albert from
Albert, not a retro for 5. Cuties was a disgusting movie, and I meant assault, but yeah, I know. Assaulted, not assisted. I'm the guy who can't stand Buffy and Angel. Well, better luck to
Totally
you.
fair. That's totally fair. Thank you. All right. Plug what you have coming up, everybody. And also a link to everyone in the description. Go.
Plug.
Oh.
Plug away.
I'm streaming around.
Oh,
No, you
okay.
go.
So this Saturday, I'm reviewing the screenplay The Nest. It's a contained thriller that takes place at the Super Bowl. You can check that out on my channel, youtube.com/thescriptdoctor, this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, called Scripts on Saturdays.
I will be streaming right after this at, let's just say 30 minutes on my channel. We'll be taco-bouting all the things, including Cape Crusaders.
You can support my Kickstarter campaign for True Noir, the fully immersive, star-studded audio drama that I'm producing and directing. Go to Kickstarter right now, look up True Noir, or find me tonight on the Burnett Work, where I have a theory about Robert Downey Jr. and what they're doing with Dr. Doom.
I'll be watching. Can't wait.
Yeah, you can find me here at YouTube at Nerd Cookies. I have the main channel as well where I cover sci-fi, fantasy news, and lore. And I also have my second channel where I rant if you want to hear more of my spicy takes. So yeah, thank you so much.
Love your rants.
Yo, I got a video coming up pretty soon about Star Wars Outlaws, so look for that in about maybe an hour or so once I get the chance to edit it. And then also be hanging out this weekend at Anime Matsuri out in Houston, Texas. It's going to be a blast. My kid's going to be putting on some panels. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Verbal Riot on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And I'll be doing a live show on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. You can also find me on George the Giant Slayer on Sundays. If you guys haven't subscribed to him, you definitely should, because he has an amazing show.
All right. I don't know how we sign it off here. Do we all do like a big kiss? Like
Do the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
everyone? Can we sync it up? Or okay. All right.
End the show. Let's do this.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We will see you next week. Follow everyone here. Alan, you know how to take us out.
Let's get out of here.